Very good afternoon to you. If you're just joining us, we are looking back to the events of August 16. That's back in 2012, the Marikana massacre. But not forgetting that in the events leading up to August 16, 10 people had also died. Let's add to the conversation now David Bruce. He is the former civil society member of the Marikana Panel of Experts on Policing and Crowd Management. He joins us to discuss how the police handled that illegal strike that was embarked upon by the 3,000 rock drill operators from Lonmin. David, very good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time. Let's look back at the Marikana massacre. That is what it has been termed. We'll talk about the days preceding August 16. Let's talk about August 16. Is there any doubt in anyone's mind that the police in South Africa that day did the unthinkable, opening fire to mine workers who people argue, and it is a fact, they were armed as well, because we saw gunfire coming from the side of the mine workers. But were police justified to respond in the manner in which they did?
I think where one has to start in assessing the response of the police is one needs to hone in on the fact that at the decisions that were made by police leadership. And so there's some evidence that the actual decision to initiate the operation was made the night before, on the Wednesday night. But nevertheless, I think what is a useful entry point into this whole conversation is to focus on the decisions that were made on the 16th at Marikana. And so what you have there is a situation where the police, knowing that there was going to be bloodshed, nevertheless, that in this case it was the provincial commissioner, Commissioner Mbombo, who then gave an instruction for the operation to proceed. And there were commanders at Marikana who warned her that there was going to be bloodshed. In fact, the potential for bloodshed was possibly much greater than what actually happened. Potentially, many more people could have died on that afternoon in terms of the police understanding of what the risks involved in the operation were. So it was an extremely reckless decision by the police leadership at Marikana. And it seems that, they were acting on under some kind of pressure when they, gave the instruction to go ahead with the operation. But nevertheless, it would seem reasonable to nevertheless argue that it was entirely, the fact that the decision to go ahead with the operation, the instruction to go ahead with the operation was given, was profoundly, profoundly wrong, potentially, in fact, a type of criminal instruction that was given to the police. And so, in some ways, what happened thereafter was could be seen as a consequence of that instruction.
Yeah, David, I'm glad you've actually gone back and given us some of these pointers that police knew that there was likely going to be bloodshed, because there also is the view that police went into that action on the 16th in a way almost on some kind of revenge attack, because remember, on the 13th, 2 police officers were killed allegedly at the hands of the mine workers that they were trying to round up. And so, in a way, police didn't know what to expect from the mine workers, the striking mine workers. Nonetheless, David, let's look ahead. Why has no person been held responsible? Why isn't there a single police officer in prison for what occurred on August 16?
Right. Well, I think it starts with the political environment in which the massacre took place, and particularly the response of the political leadership and the SAPS leadership. So, for instance, as is frequently, we are often reminded of the fact that the initial response of the National Commissioner was to characterize the actions of the police as the best of possible policing. And insofar as she remained in the position as National Commissioner, she continued to maintain that essentially the police had done nothing wrong. And so, and until the conclusions of the Commission of Inquiry were provided to government, there was in fact no official finding that the police had done anything wrong at Marikana. So, that was one of the things that contributed to a major delay in expediting any type of proceedings in relation to this matter. Another aspect of it would be the whole complexity of reconstructing the whole series of events, and so, for instance, insofar as one would be interested in the question about holding individual police officers who were involved in the shootings, in holding them accountable. I think, potentially an investigation of that kind would be one of formidable difficulty. But I think, we need to be asking, for instance, the NPA about these questions about leadership decision making.
Yeah.
And why and why there hasn't been more forward movement on questions to do with the accountability of police leadership in relation to the actions which they took on the 16th at Marikana. Because, as far as I understand, the evidence in that regard is already in the public domain. And, I think it's, the need for those issues to be fully addressed in a court of law is long overdue.
David Bruce, let me thank you very much for your time and contribution to this ongoing discussion. And the reason I remind us all that this is an ongoing conversation is that this conversation continues because Tuesday is the actual day of the anniversary of the Marikana massacre. Lots to chew on. Thank you very much for the time being, David Bruce. I'm sure we'll talk to you throughout the week. All right.